Hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Throw it in the chat. Are you enjoying WorkflowCon so far? We are excited to have you here. Come on, let's show us some love. Oh, this is a great group of people already. I am so excited. Yay! I love the gifts. Hi there. Oh, I see some people I know in here. Welcome. Hey there, Claire. We love you. Katie. We've got not the dancing CPA. Yes, the dancing CPA. As a matter of fact, right now, I am sitting in a hotel room because I am in Nashville, Tennessee, and I just presented at the AICPA Global Women's Leadership Summit. And do you know what I got to do? I got 500 people in a room to stand up and do a fake jazzercise routine to She Works Hard for the Money by Donna Summer. How cool is that? I think it was one of the best moments in my entire life. It was fabulous. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. As you can see, we already have a poll on the stage, and we're going to have quite a few polls in this session. And the more we can get you to respond to these polls, the more valuable a session it will be. Each poll question is designed to go along with our panelist questions. I will be introducing the panelists in a few moments. Our first poll is, which qualities best define a 5-star culture in your mind? Now, you can pick more than one, which I know is a little weird because I said best define, and that's a superlative. Don't get on my case about it, okay? Just answer as many things as you want. And there are a few other things that I want to mention to you. If you haven't been at WorkflowCon already, then you may not know about these. But on your right-hand side of the screen, you've got a bunch of little boxes. One of them is for the chat. WorkflowCon attendees are awesome about the chat. We're always throwing. Oh my gosh, Annetta, you can only choose one. You know what? That's probably because Davida had to relaunch this poll at the last second and didn't get a chance to check mark that box. But all the other poll questions, you will be allowed to choose more than one. So apologies for that. Yeah, hello. Oh my gosh, look at this chat. It's so wonderful. So keep the chat going, keep it lively. That's one of my favorite things about WorkflowCon because we don't want this is a roundtable. We don't want this to just be about us on stage. We want you to learn from each other in the chat. So keep it lively. And then the next one down is going to be your Q&A. If you have a question for me or for any of the panelists, please put that in the Q&A, and our amazing panelists are going to be answering those throughout the course of the session. And then again, please participate in the polls as best you can. So I don't know how many people we've got voting so far, but Davida, if it looks good for you, let's go ahead and see the answer. Which qualities best define a 5-star culture in your mind? Clear expectations, psychological safety, recognition and appreciation, growth opportunities, shared values, or other. Clear expectations, 36%. Looks like we've got. I can't see the results on screen, but Davida is telling me we've got clear expectations at 36%. So that is great for me to know. I would love it if you would throw in chat if you said other. What does other mean to you? Because again, I want us to be learning from each other. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we've got a few slides to cover before we pull our incredible panelists up on stage. Can everyone see my screen? Looks like it's a yes, except for the fact that that's not the right slide. I'm going to zoom back to the beginning. Whoop, there we go. Now, Roundtable, building a 5-star culture in hybrid and remote teams. Thank you for being here again. We went through the polls on the right-hand side. We went through the Q&A. We went through the chat. What we haven't gone through yet is the raise hand. Now, this is for a chance to join us on stage for any of the questions that we're going to be posting. If you have had an experience where you feel like you have something of value to add to this conversation and share with us how you have solved this problem, we would love it if you would raise your hand, meaning use the little raise hand thing at the bottom of your screen. And Davita will be monitoring that, and we will invite one audience member to join our panelists on stage for each of the questions that we are asking to our panelists. So if you hear a question, you see that question at the bottom of the screen, not the poll questions, but the panelist questions at the bottom, raise your hand if you'd like to join us because we would love to bring you up on stage. As somebody already mentioned, my name's Nancy McClelland, and I am the Dancing Accountant. That's the name of my firm, which celebrated 24 years in our neighborhood of Logan Square in Chicago this year. I've been named Top 50 Women in Accounting. I co-host the She Counts podcast, which you can subscribe to at shecounts.show, SHOW. I have an award-winning blog and MSN column. My greatest passion in life is my Ask a CPA community for bookkeepers. And if you would like to connect with me, I promise that QR code is not a Rickroll. I did manage to Rickroll 35 people in 1 hour at the expo hall at Intuit Connect this year. So I'm feeling pretty proud of myself. But that QR code is actually, it just goes to the contact page on my website. And there are a bunch of little logos there, and you can choose how to interact with me. Um, there is one thing that actually two things that I want to give you. It's actually Financial Sense who has made this possible. If you are interested in joining our Ask a CPA community for bookkeepers who have questions that they would like to ask their clients' tax pros, but for whatever reason can't, spoiler alert, the most common reason is that they treat you condescendingly. We would love to have you. And this code, WorkflowCon, all one word, if you sign up by November 30th, gets you 30% off of your first 3 months. And that hyperlink at the bottom below that is actually something that everybody who is attending this session gets for free. It is a bookkeeper's guide to annual reviews. This is a one-page version of the two-pager checklist that we use in Ask a CPA. And that is yours for free. This one pager is yours for free just for being at this session. We're so glad you're here. The slides are in the resources section, so feel free to go ahead and download those. So today we are going to be talking about defining a 5-star culture. We're going to be talking about hiring and onboarding, communication and accountability, recognition and retention, trust and flexibility. And we're going to start with what is a 5-star culture anyway? And this is one of those you do you. You define 5-star culture in the way that feels most appropriate to you and the way you want to participate in and run your firm. But there are some overarching concepts. From the employee perspective, 5-star culture at a CPA firm, bookkeeping firm, CAS firm means feeling valued, trusted, and connected. And when we feel valued, trusted, and connected, then our firm benefits as well from this 5-star culture. To them, it means that their mission is aligned with the mission of their team members. And as such, they get consistent performance and they have low turnover. And lastly, we've got the client perspective because we can't forget that our 5-star culture affects our clients. From their perspective, 5-star culture is going to mean that they're getting seamless, high quality, and personal service. Now, when we add the remote/hybrid word to this, then that means people in these virtual firms, they feel psychologically safe, they feel connected to purpose, and they feel empowered to do excellent work wherever they sit. And this is a really important concept because in modern progressive firms, we're seeing that work schedules and remote work are actually making a really huge difference in the culture of these firms. And we're seeing the opposite in firms that are insisting on doing this the old way around. So again, raise your hand for a chance to join us on stage. Please participate in the polls. Submit in Q&A if you have a question for our panelists and keep that chat active. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I am going to ask Davida to please invite all of our panelists on stage. Oh my gosh, look how many amazing people are in the chat. I just saw the chat again. Oh, thank you so much for being here. I am absolutely thrilled to see all of you. These are our amazing panelists for today. We've got Greg, Melissa, Jenny, and Katie. Thank you for being here. Could you each briefly introduce yourself and tell us where you're located and how many team members you have? Greg, let's start with you.
Yeah, no, thanks for letting me join the panel. So, my name is Greg Colton. I'm located in Grand Rapids, Michigan area, on track accounting solutions, and I have one employee and bring an admin in starting next tax season, so soon be three.
Awesome, fantastic. Katie, let's have you go next.
Hi, my name is Katie Healy. I am the owner of Scaled Accounting Solutions located in Chandler, Arizona. I have a team of three all over the country and globally.
Wonderful. Jenny, let's hear from you.
Hey guys, I'm Jenny Rost with Construct Bookkeeping, and I am just outside of Tacoma, Washington, and I have a team of 5, and we are a little bit spread out mainly on mainly Pacific Northwest. We do have Arizona and Georgia as well, so remote team.
Wonderful. And Melissa.
Hi guys, I'm Melissa Miller Ferguson. My firm is Bookkeeping for Good, and I'm in Chicago. And I have one full-time and one very part-time employee.
Wonderful. So I would love for Davida, if you could please share the first panelist question in a ribbon at the bottom, that would be wonderful. So panelists and Katie, I'm going to start on this one. When you picture a 5-star culture, what does that look like in your firm day to day? What makes it feel premium to work there? And before you start, I want to remind our audience that if you have a solution or an insight to this question and you would like to join us on stage, please click the raise hand thing at the bottom and Davida will invite you on this stage with us. So Katie, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think culture is intentional. It's not accidental. So I've really tried hard to keep that in mind as I'm building this firm. I've been running my firm for just over a year, and to me, culture is all about one where people feel empowered, supported, and trusted to do their work, not micromanaged, or constantly asked, where are you at with things? And I also believe that outcomes and accountability and flexibility is what really honors employees within the firm. So, with my team being global, we all work at different times of the day, whether some of my team works in the middle of the night, my night, which is their daytime, and some of my and others work, the same time zones as I do. So, to me, it's all about empowering people and giving them the freedoms to do their job.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. And I wish I had been taking notes. I'm going to have to come back to that one because there was so much to unpack in it. I love that. Jenny, I'd love to hear from you from the same thing in the day-to-day of the life of your company. What makes it 5-star?
I feel like I'm really blessed because we have a team that really enjoys working together. We laugh, we have fun, but in the day to day, we have like a Teams chat that we use, and no one's commuting. I try and show appreciation to my team by sending, Uber Eats or doing some quarterly team building events. And our last one was like an 80s themed Zoom murder mystery. And that was so fun. So I just like to try and
I
build
want to
like
be
that
on your
harmony.
team.
Thanks.
Can I be on your team or can I at least just come to your team building events? That sounds like a blast.
We have fun. And I think that that's really important. And it helps change the energy on our team.
Absolutely. I love that. Greg, I'd love to hear the same from you, what does it look like in your firm day to day when you think about 5-star culture and you go, yeah, we have that? What does that mean?
For me, it means it's like if you hire your staff in, you're hiring them to trust that they're going to get the job done. And you have to give them the flexibility to do so. I don't like to micromanage my employees, and even my clients either. But I want to give them the flexibility, get their job done. As long as you get it done by the deadlines, I'm happy. I even let them. Some of them even travel hotels. One person worked on a cruise one time, and they were working this thing. So I allow some flexibility as long as things are done well within our standards and security standards, but also done within our deadlines. And as long as we do that, they seem to, at least my one person and an admin in the past, have all been pretty happy with it.
That's fantastic. I love it. Flexibility for me is absolutely key. And Melissa, same question for you. When you picture a 5-star culture, and I know we've got a little a fun thing here, which is that your employee is actually in our chat right now. I saw her, so I'm very curious if her answer will be the same as your answer. So Claire, get ready.
Oh boy. I'm not sure I have a
No
lot to
pressure.
add. I know, no pressure at all, right? Trust, communication, flexibility, all things that everyone else has said are, tops for me and for Claire in, having this, premium work environment, this 5-star culture. The trust piece, I think, is the most important because I trust that, the employees are going to, get their work done on, by the deadline. I don't care. So flexibility, I don't care when they do it or where, just like Greg said. Like it's all about trusting each other, communicating with each other about what needs to be done and when it needs to be done.
And you're saying that's two-way. You're trusting that she's going to get her work done by the deadlines, but she has to trust you in the opposite direction, that you really mean that and you're not going to micromanage her. She has to
Right.
trust that you have her best interests.
And even more, like when she has questions or is unsure about something, she feels okay, coming to me and asking the question. There are no dumb questions. It's safe to, have questions or issues that you can come to me with, and I'll respond appropriately.
I love that. Thank you so much, all of you, for this insight. This is so valuable. Davita, would you post the second poll question? So this should be the question that is, which part of remote onboarding is hardest to get right? Because, and I'm hoping this time you really can select more than one, because that's certainly the idea. We've got technology setup, introducing culture and values, shadowing, learning, building relationships, setting expectations, and other. And while y'all are answering this poll question, I'm going to give my 2 cents on the last thing that we were just talking about, which is what for me defines a 5-star culture. Our panelists gave all of the answers. Like, it was just perfect. I absolutely love that. And I want to take a little bit from each one of those to say that fun is very important to us. We have a quarterly paid happy hour where we all get on Zoom. We send everybody a cocktail kit and a snack pack. And we get together and we chat and we bond. And that's really amazing. When we talk about trust, one of the things that we do is I let my team vote a client off the island every year after tax season. They really do get, even if I love that client, it's too bad. If my team as a group has decided that that client has to go, we get rid of them. And it's made a huge difference. Um, and that is my note for myself to say, let's move on to the poll. What are the answers here? We've got technology setup, 15%. Introducing culture and values, 16%. Shadowing and learning, that's my biggest challenge, 26%. Building relationships, 24. Setting expectations, 20. And other, 0. So I feel like we we pretty much nailed it then with the things that I was guessing would be a problem. So Davita, let's close that poll and issue the next question for our panelists, which is related to that. How do you intentionally build culture from day one for a team member who may never walk into your office. And I will tell you, I have team members that I've literally never met in person, ever, who have worked for me for years and years and years. And for whatever reason, we've never managed to meet each other in person. So, how do you intentionally build that culture if you never get to meet them in person and you don't have a physical space that they come to? And I'm going to start with Melissa here because I know you and Claire have done a really good job at this because I've been privileged enough to go out drinking with y'all.
All right. Well, we do. Claire lives in the suburbs of Chicago, so she is remote because we almost work almost entirely from home. But she's close by, so yeah, we can build our culture by actually being in the same room with each other now and then. But I think what really sticks out for me is we have regular meetings twice a week. We meet on Zoom to talk over what's going on with our clients, but also what's going on in our lives. Like, what'd you do last weekend? Have you, been to any, new great restaurants, stuff like that. Just we like each other and we get along great. We also.
And so before she started, how did you make that happen? Like right as she was coming on board, how did you communicate these values? Were you friends beforehand? Like how did you make it work from day one? Or did you not? I mean, spoiler alert, we are all, for our audience, we are all making this up as we go along, right? We've learned a lot of things along the way, but we don't have everything figured out. So did you stumble and fall as you were onboarding her, or did that part go cleanly? What did you learn from that process?
I got very lucky. I knew Claire beforehand, and so we
Mhm.
knew that we liked each other and wanted to work together.
So that's actually really fantastic because can you tell us just a little bit about where you found her? Because I think that because I have done the same thing in my own firm before, I do think this is a neat little tip to keep your eye out.
Yeah, so she worked for a client of ours who is still a client, thankfully. And she expressed interest in learning bookkeeping. And so when the time came for me to hire someone, need extra capacity, I turned to her and asked her if she was still interested. And she was. And so I guess I stole her from a client, but she's so amazing and the client loves her so much that they didn't fire me or us when she came to work for me instead of working for them.
That's fantastic. So I think it's very important for me that big takeaway lesson there is um, knowing somebody beforehand can make the onboarding a lot easier, and it's not an impossible thing to do. One of the ways you can do that, and the way that we handled it, was we brought people on for to do a freelance trial project to see if we liked working with each other, and then we built camaraderie there, and eventually down the line ended up bringing them on as team members. So getting to know somebody before you bring them on board is a really amazing hack. Now I know you can't do that all the time, so Jenny, what has your experience looked like in terms of your tips and tricks for onboarding in a way where you're intentionally building culture from day one?
It's funny that you mentioned that because when I made my first hire, we were a hot mess. It was not an easy process. So I'll just be very honest, like you said there. But now I feel like I've even gotten, with our last two hires, I've gotten compliments about how great our onboarding process is. And we actually use Financial Sense. So I will set up a client as an external client first, and that's how they send in, offer letter, do all of that. And then after that, once they're a user and actually onboarded, we do their entire onboarding project built into Financial Sense.
Wow.
They schedule meetings with our team to get training. All of our training is linked in there. It walks them through the workflow. It's got due dates. So that has worked out really well. I think it has built a great culture too, because they got to see what our software looks like from the user client perspective first, and then they come in and see it as being an internal user. So they've all had really good experiences and good feedback since we've implemented that, and I'm so thankful for it.
That is amazing. I love that. I can tell. So we have a guest who's popped up on this stage. Thank you, Natalie, for being here. An audience member who Yeah, had some tips for us as well. But Natalie, I'd first like to start with, are you a financial sense user, and have you done some of the same kind of stuff that Jenny's talking about here?
We are a financial sense user. We've been on financial sense for a little over a year now, and we loved it. Jenny's idea of onboarding using financial sense is fantastic. We haven't hired anybody new in this time, so, but definitely food for thought. I love
And I
that.
don't know, is that Jenny? I know that Financial Sense has a really rich library of templates that are submitted by other Financial Sense users. Do you have these available for people to refer to? Because that would be a really awesome share.
I have a lot of templates in the library, and I was just going to go look and see if my onboarding one was in there. And if not, I'll
Awesome.
try and pop it in there for
You'll
everyone
put
so
it
you
in
guys
there.
have an example for
Do,
sure.
because that would be amazing.
Now, Natalie, what advice do you have for us?
So we, so very much like, I think it was Melissa, my business partner, is my best friend of 30 years. And I brought her into the firm about 8 years ago. And then we started to get a little bit to the point where we had to hire, and we needed a virtual office manager because she's in Massachusetts, I'm in California. We used hiremymom.com, and they, I mean, amazing. They interviewed
Awesome.
us and what we were looking for, and some of those questions were, firm culture type questions. And so then they found and vetted and got us like 4 candidates, and then sent us their interviews. And then so the one that we picked, we just fell in love with her, and she just fit right in immediately. She's in Northern California. And then our fourth,
That's
I'm a team of
fantastic.
4. The fourth person was someone I worked at a CPA firm with, who reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think I want to do bookkeeping." He came from the audit side.
Well, I'm
And
going to interrupt for
so
a second to say there's a lesson to pull out of that, which is if people don't know what you do and don't know that you have a healthy remote culture, then they can't do what this person did, right? Because for me, all of my colleagues, they know that we run this remote firm. And so it was when a CPA colleague of mine decided to sell her firm and move to the country, and she got in touch with me and said, "Hey, I would love to work with your firm." So it's the same. So being vocal about how you're doing it, that's a
well,
fantastic
and we
tip.
still have the firm that he came from. He had left the firm a while before, and I had left some time before, but I still share many clients with them because we do tax ready books. That's part of my culture.
And
And
that's our thing in Ask a
I know
CPA.
it
We
is.
are
I
all
know
about
it
tax
is.
ready books.
Yep,
I
tax
love
ready
it.
books. I follow you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
um,
that's awesome.
yeah. So we do that. So we have the same thing. We have Mondays, we have our team meeting where we check in for the week. What are we going to do? What are we working on? And then Fridays, we have a team meeting that is just, hey, what's going on? What are you going to do this weekend? And then, sometimes we'll meet in between, and we have the teams chat where we have a water cooler, where we just really make it easy. And then like Greg, we allow, you work the hours, like we have like 4 hours a day that we try to have everybody online at the same time. But other than that, you work when you want to work, as long as the work's
But you
getting
do
done.
have 4 hours a day where you request that people are overlapping.
Yes.
Okay, so that something that is important for people who are attending this know is that there's no one way to do it. We do not have that same thing, but you do, and that's working for you,
And
right? So
it's
there,
not, yeah, and it's not
yeah,
strict, like, because the two between, Stacy has grown kids, but they have young kids, and our virtual ops managers homeschool. So there's times when, and as long as they put it on my calendar and in the chat that they got to take off, it's cool. But we try to,
yeah,
do that 4 hours a day during the week when
absolutely.
we're all
I
on.
love that. I think that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for joining us
Thank you for
to,
having me.
yes, yes, wonderful. And Davita, if you could launch that next poll, I would really appreciate it. Um, And that next poll is, the question is, what is your team's biggest communication pain point? And Greg, we're going to start with you on this one, while I guess the panelist version of this, which we'll see in a minute, is what workflows and tools have helped you balance transparency with autonomy. This is related very much to the whole communication question. So while people are answering this poll question, Greg, can you share with us how you are handling the communication thing and what tools you're using to make sure that in a remote culture that you're able to be transparent and communicative with each other? I cannot hear Greg right now, and I'm wondering if that's because the poll is up here. Maybe I am the only one who can speak while a poll is up. I will give the poll results so that we can make sure to get back to the rest of our speakers. Too many meetings is the biggest communication pain point for 6%. Not enough feedback, 20%. Information silos, that's my biggest one, is almost 30%. Delayed responses, 25%. Unclear ownership, 14%, and other. There are quite a few people saying other in this. So if you've got a different communication pain point that is not in this list, please toss that in chat because we definitely want to talk about it. Looks like information silos is the biggest one. So Davida, if you could close that poll, we'll go back to our panelists. And Greg, I would love to hear from you first. How are you handling communication, and what tools are you using to make sure that that balance between autonomy um, and uh, transparency remains strong? I cannot hear Greg, and I don't know what's going on there. In the meantime, I'm going to switch over to Katie. If you could unmute yourself and answer that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in structure, and I think structure creates flexibility. And when everybody knows the processes, expectations, and deliverables, you don't have to micromanage, which allows people obviously clarity with what their job expectation is. So I, like some of the other panelists, I use Financial Sense kind of as my command center to as the starting point of what's happening within the firm. And then from there, we utilize, we're a Google shop, so we use Google Chat, and we also utilize Loom. Because my team is global and we all work at different times, I mean, we do have check-in meetings weekly, but not everything happens at that check-in point time, and sometimes we need responses and answers before then. So we're utilizing Loom as much as we possibly can. Within Financial Sense, we've started, creating Loom videos on processes and how to do things. So it's not a stopping point for any of the employees to continue doing their job. And because I am the bottleneck, right?
Yes.
I am the bottleneck. I will be the first to admit that. I'm sure my team would also say that as well, that it is me that is the problem. They're usually waiting on something from me. So I've been really trying to get in the habit of, being as over communicative as possible with the various things. And I think too, it's a learning process. I'm learning as I go, so to say, right? I started with one employee and quickly jumped to two additional ones, right? And so I did not have everything figured out, but I knew that we needed to try to figure out a good structure so that if things weren't perfect, we could at least go back to that initial structure on how to do things so that they can continue to do their jobs.
And this actually addresses the in the poll question about information silos. This addresses it the most because when you have tools, in your case, Financial Sense and Google Chat, right? And in our case, we're using Double, which was previously Keeper, and in doing that, we're making it so that we're not dependent on email as much, because email, even when we own the domain, is much harder when you're having a conversation in email to see everything that has happened. And if you have something like Financial Sense, and actually, Greg, if you've figured out your mic issue, I want you to answer this one because I know that you use Financial Sense in a very specific way, the notes section, to help with this, right?
Correct. Yeah. Can you hear me now? Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. We got you.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah. So we use Financial Sense, and one key thing we do is within the notes of each project itself, we communicate a lot within the team chat with each other, even every conversation we have with a client. For example, my staff member said, okay, this person wanted to pay X amount of dollars in payroll. What do we do? So we conversate back and forth. And when a client calls in, we make the notes on their profile page right away, so we can kind of keep that clear communication, not only from our staff to make sure we know what we're doing, but the client feels like we know what we're doing. And then we also use the resource section of projects to do things like Loom and Scribe and things like that. So when an employee comes on board, we still help them how to do the work, but everything is there and helps them get on board quicker.
Absolutely. I love that. I workflows and tools for me, that practical side of thing is something that I wish I had figured out. There were some things that I intrinsically felt like I knew what to do about building team culture. I did not have this figured out ahead of time, and it was a real problem. And so my senior accountant and one of my contractors and they own their own firms too. That's one of the things that we do. Almost everybody who works in our company also runs their own firm, whether it's tax or CAS or bookkeeping or whatever. And we decided together as a team to pick what our workflows and tools were going to be so that they could implement the same ones at their firms so that all of us were using the same tools at all three of our firms. And that really helped us a lot. Davita, would you launch the next poll, which is what motivates your team most? And the choices here are public recognition, financial rewards, flexible schedules, growth and learning, meaningful work, or other. And again, for other, please toss that in the chat because we'd love to hear what else is out there. And for our for our panelists, our next question, very related to that, and I'm going to start with Jenny because she was the one who was telling us about the 80s murder mystery. How do you celebrate wins and keep morale high when everyone's distributed? Just a reminder to the audience, if there's anybody out there who would like to share something that has worked for them, just use that raise hand and Davita will invite you to our stage. So let's take a look at our poll. Public recognition, 7%. So that one's not ranking really high in our world. Financial rewards, 22%. Flexible schedules. Okay, now flexible schedules, let's remember that a lot of the teams and a lot of the people who are here are not 100% remote. A lot of folks are hybrid, and flexible schedules is something that can work really well in both of those environments that's not remote only. I just rewatched the movie 9 to 5 recently and was really impressed that even back in 1980, there were some people who were talking about job sharing and on site childcare and things like that to promote flexible schedules. Then we have growth and learning, 19%, meaningful work, 16%, and other. Please throw that in the chat. Jenny, let's start with you. If Davita, if you could close the poll, that would be great. I think we need that poll closed before we can hear from Jenny.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone can hear me.
Oh, yep, I can hear you. Great. Wonderful.
Perfect. Okay. So I think I mentioned we have some Teams channels that we use to talk about things like, our favorite books that we've recently read. We share recipes, things like that, or just kind of life updates and pictures. I love having that like water cooler type of environment there. We also have a biweekly team meeting where we start that meeting with any of our wins that we've had for the last week. And then we also do like a shout out section. So if there's someone on the team that has done something that's been really helpful for you, or you just want to give them some kudos, we have that available in the meeting as well. And then we have like a shared or learned, kind of sharing point in the meeting too, where we'll talk about any tech tips that we've learned, webinars we've been to, what's going on with AI, because that's moving every day. And then just like accounting tips, tricks, and hacks. So we try and use our meeting time to collaborate on some of that. We also have a peer power hour, so anyone can bring their questions to that meeting, and either I answer it or someone else on the team answers that question. We'll screen share with each other. So it just really opens up that knowledge share, and then I'm not having to do meetings with each person where I'm trying to train, and sometimes it's on the same thing. So that's just kind of some things that we do to share wins and keep morale up and keep
I'm
that
telling you, Jenny, if I ever sell my firm or retire, I'm coming
Come
to work
on
for
over,
you.
Nancy.
This sounds amazing. And you're actually reminding me of a little trick that we use when we are hiring. I ask people when they are applying for a role with us in they send their resume or whatever over and they email it, and there are specific things that I want them to write in their email to me, and one of them is their hobbies and children or pets if they have any, and to tell me about them. And so that's something that's setting, like you said, that water cooler environment. That's setting the scene for the water cooler environment before they're even asked to come work for us. So I love your concept of this water cooler environment. And then Katie, I know that you had some neat tricks about this one as well.
Yeah, I do. So because my team is global, I have some here in the US and some offshore. It's been an interesting journey to try to hit the nail on the head with everyone because everybody celebrates wins differently. And I think it's definitely different cultures have different celebrations. So it's certainly been a learning experience for me. But one thing that I really try to do is kind of like what Jenny does is the water cooler concept. We have a channel within Google Chat that's called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and we basically are trying to utilize that to share like good things and bad things. And my admin is getting married in May, and so she's been, chatting about how she's excited for her upcoming wedding and like all the things that she's doing, and I think it brings the team together. And then some of my team in the Philippines, they're sharing like things that are going on for them or the bad things. There was a super typhoon that just happened over there, so like it's been really great for our team to like kind of learn about each other, which I think it just makes us a better team overall. And then obviously I
Absolutely.
try to reward them in terms of the flexibility. Some of my bookkeeper just messaged me and was like, hey, a friend wants to go to dinner, can I take a half day? And I'm like, sure, last minute, let's do it. Like enjoy the time, because that's what life is about the experiences, not necessarily about work. And I think when you
Totally.
have
I tell my
flexibility, they
team all
allow
of the
you.
time, I really want my team to um I want eventually someday in my own life to have what I give my team, which is you're working to live, you're not living to work. And I just think that's such an important message. Davida, I would love it if
Yes.
you would launch that last poll, which is what's the hardest part of leading a hybrid or remote team? Again, you can select more than one. We've got measuring productivity, maintaining trust, ensuring connection, balancing flexibility with accountability, avoiding burnout, or other. And I will tell you, I wrote that list because those are my hardest parts. Like that is it. That is my list right there. So I would love to hear from Melissa next. Can you speak up and let's make sure we can hear you over the poll, because I'm a little unsure about how that's all working.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, great. Yes, absolutely
Right.
can. So um, for you, what is the hardest part of leading a hybrid and remote team? I would love to hear about that. And
Well, my answer
yeah,
to the poll was measuring productivity, because
okay.
I know I'm terrible at using a timekeeper, and my employees don't like doing it either. And it also is very hard to know whether we have additional capacity, because it's hard to know exactly how much space we
How
have
much time
in
you're
our
putting in
flexible
something.
schedules.
Yeah. That's such a hard one. It's something we've talked about a lot at this conference that I'm at right now is, the billable hour. There's too much emphasis on the billable hour at CPA firms in particular. But if you aren't measuring time, then like how do you know? How do you look at deliverables and make sure they're getting done well? Some people though are just faster than others. And so measuring hours isn't always the way to do that. How have you solved for this in your firm?
Have I?
That is a fair answer. That is absolutely a fair answer. I mean,
We are doing the best we can.
we've got a lot of people in responding to this poll saying balancing flexibility with accountability. is actually the biggest issue, and that is really huge for us as well. Do any of our panelists have any solution to fixing that specific problem, the balancing flexibility with accountability? And Davida, feel free to close that poll and go back to our panelist screen. If there's anybody on the panel who has a solution to that, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I won't say that it's a solution because I think it's something that's ongoing that we're always struggling with team members, because we do want to offer a flexible work environment, but that doesn't always work out because of the accountability piece.
Absolutely.
Having financial sense, I can see when people are tracking time, and I can see the progress on a project. So for me, I don't feel like I have to, micromanage or check in with them where they feel like I have eyes on them, or I'm constantly, being that micromanager. So I love utilizing financial sense for the capacity tracking that we have, and the time tracking. I love tracking my time, and so I do require that all of my team members do it down to the project and sometimes task level too. And I track my time because that's how we know how profitable we are on projects as well, and with clients. So we utilize those
Now,
reports out of financial sense for that.
and Katie and Greg, I know that you have also shared with me behind the scenes that you're doing some of that same stuff in monitoring using financial sense. And in our case, we're doing something similar with Double. So I'd like to go to the last question here for our panelists in the couple of minutes we have left. What behaviors from leaders build or erode trust in a hybrid environment? Greg, I'd love to hear from you.
I think the behaviors to kind of build that trust is making sure the expectation is there. They know what to do. They know where the work is. And as long as they kind
So
of
it's
that,
really
they have
about
the resources
transparency.
available. Yeah, I would say the transparency, and like I said, I don't like to manage my people. I mean, I manage my people, for lack of a better word, but I don't like to micromanage my people. As long as we're being transparent and we're giving those resources there, that has built the trust so far with the team member in the past one I've had. If we don't have that, and I've done this when I first started bringing out a contractor, that trust was very eroded very quickly because we didn't have that stuff in place. So lessons learned, just keep working on improving those processes, that transparency and stuff like that, as builds that trust over time.
That absolutely makes sense. And Katie, I know you had some thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, I think, and for my instance, because I have a remote environment, my team can't feel my leadership presence day to day, so to say. So what I want them to see and experience are, I have to put more effort and follow through into it. So keeping my word, doing what I say I'm going to do, and being consistent in how I respond to them builds that trust. And trust over time is really what allows our firm to be the firm that we are. Without my team, I would not be.
Absolutely. Well, I know we've only got 1 minute left. There are a lot of questions in Q&A that we haven't gotten to yet. I wish we had way more time than we've been allotted here, because I would love to answer all of these questions. But please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I would love to answer some of these questions. Also, our panelists would love to answer these questions. So I know we had some that are about like how we manage the situation where you've got W-2 employees and you also have contractors. That is a really complicated one for us. Depending on what state they're from, that does affect our decision as far as hiring is concerned. There's also questions about in-person team members and remote team members, and how you manage that balance. Lots of really good stuff in here, and I'm sorry we didn't have time to get to all of it, but please reach out to me or any of our panelists here on LinkedIn. We are happy to dive into any of these questions. And I just wanted to thank Financial Sense for having us all here today. And I especially want to thank our incredible speakers, Katie, Melissa, Jenny, and Greg. Thank you so much for being here. I really loved this discussion. And again, I wish we could just talk about this all day long. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of WorkflowCon. Thank you. Goodbye.